Most people think that Alzheimer's is just forgetting things, forgetting where you put your keys, forgetting names, forgetting dates. But Alzheimer's is so much more than that. It's forgetting how to eat, how to dress yourself, forgetting the very people you've loved your entire life. I didn't understand any of that at first. When I was in grade 3, an elderly stranger walked through my front door. She had glazed eyes, disheveled hair, and wasn't wearing shoes. She was scared and confused, and sat down quietly at our dining room table. When the police came, fear swept through her, and she retreated into a corner. I watched as she screamed and banged her wooden hairbrush against the ground as the police tried to brutally force her into an ambulance. I don't think I ever could have guessed that she had Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's doesn't come all at once. It comes in stages, and each stage takes something different from you. First, your short-term memories, then your independence, then pieces of your identity, and eventually your body's own ability to survive. But by then, the people around you have already grieved, because the person they once knew is long gone. When my grandma was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2020, I thought I knew what it meant. Memory loss, confusion, forgetting names and faces. What I didn't understand is how terrifying and painful the journey would be, but also how it would teach me so much by challenging my ideas of unconditional love, identity, and hope. My grandma's life story is worthy of a novel. She came to Canada as a refugee in the 70s, escaping Vietnam with her 2 young daughters in tow, while my grandpa remained behind as a prisoner of war. My whole life, she's always been my role model, and since I was a baby, I was raised by my grandma. I've always known her as a survivor. She beat breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and chronic hepatitis C. When I heard she had Alzheimer's, I thought, if anyone can fight this, it's her. Her physical health is resilient, but Alzheimer's is a mental battle. It's so different from other diseases we're used to. It's heavily misunderstood, and what causes it is still unknown. For my grandma, you first noticed through conversations. She'd ask the same questions over and over again. She'd tell the same stories over and over again. In life, and especially as children, when we encounter a problem, the only thing we're taught to do is try and find a solution. When I heard my grandma had Alzheimer's, the only solution to the problem I had was to help her remember and keep her memories. I started reading everything I could about Alzheimer's. I researched clinical trials, memorized scientific facts, knew all the stages and how long they typically last. In my mind, I knew that there was no cure, but in my heart, I couldn't stop searching for any reason, just a small piece of hope to fuel my denial. Every conversation I had with her became a test of her memory. Every time she remembered something, a fragile hope rekindled, and the weight on my heart felt lighter. So I kept digging for that relief. If she couldn't remember something, I pleaded and pressed. We went hiking yesterday, remember? At Center Island? You bought us ice cream, remember? Do you remember? Please remember. And finally she'd say, yes, yes, I remember, even if she didn't. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, we all know the stages of grief. But then the denial returned with desperate, lingering feelings of hope. How could I bring myself to accept it when she was right there, alive, and sitting in front of me? For a long time, I thought acceptance meant giving up, like an admission of defeat. So I kept trying to hold on. For the first few years, the stages of grief dragged on, but soon, asking her to remember no longer made a difference. As Alzheimer's locked more pathways to her mind, acceptance quietly settled into mine. And it didn't feel like defeat. I started finding solace in the small things she could recall on her own, realizing that one day she won't remember who I am. In the face of challenges, we're often told to keep trying and never give up. So rarely are we told that there is no solution. But what I quickly learned is that there is no solution is not the same thing as there's nothing you can do about it. Rather than treating Alzheimer's as a problem that must be fixed, I wish I'd spent more time learning how to care for someone with it. On my last birthday, we went out for dinner and ate cake. She gave me a red envelope for good luck. The next day, she wished me a happy birthday again, with the same excitement, the same smile, the same tilt of her head as she looked me in the eye. For a moment, I was ready to correct her, to remind her that we just celebrated. But I didn't. I smiled back, letting her wish me happy birthday twice. It's the times when she'll bring up a date, a name, a special moment that I've never noticed or appreciated before. I know it won't last long, but it's the small moments like these that make me smile. Looking back, I wish I hadn't spent so much time begging her to remember things the way they used to be. I wish that I recognized that her feelings were real, even if her memories weren't. I miss so many precious moments together buried under the weight of denial. But now, I let her memories come and go as they please, because I know that each one is a gift. The slow progression of Alzheimer's became a small blessing, because although it's a terminal disease, in these few precious years, I learned to savor each moment where she still says my name and loves who I am. I learned to appreciate repetition because I can now recite her favorite life stories by heart. As children, we're often taught that a guardian's love is unconditional, infinite, and impossible to break. But it is finite, and it can break. One cannot love someone they don't know, and soon my grandma won't know me. My idea of unconditional love shattered. But through this journey, I learned about a new kind of love, selfless love, the love that you give someone expecting nothing in return. Love without expectation, without needing her to remember who I am, is even deeper. What are we without our memories? Some may say you're just a breathing shell of your former self, but I know that we are more than that. Despite how confused we are or how little we know, we all still want to be loved and treated with kindness. We live on through the memories others hold of us, and the laughter, the love, and the emotions that always linger slightly longer than the memories themselves. I know that this is just the beginning of a very long story. I haven't yet experienced the extreme emotional, financial, and physical burdens of caregiving in the later stages, nor have I experienced the extreme and unpredictable lack of support in our healthcare system. But what I can say right now is that I'm forever grateful for the few more years I have left to travel with her, hear stories, and form memories, even if they're one-sided. Because no matter how far into the future, how little she knows, or how much she's changed, I know I will still love her the same. Because at the end of the day, my grandma will always be my grandma. Thank you.